what's the point of eating broccoli and chicken breast and white rice?
And it was all hard
7 days
calories.
a
It
week?
was a lot of chicken breast. I was eating so much chicken breast.
But that's how you
See,
get the
think
body.
it sounds nice, but it's
Always
not just like
protein,
cheeseburgers. I mean, you have to eat
protein.
like these
And
big,
Mag,
just
and it's been
bland,
5
naked
months,
pieces of chicken and rice.
chicken breast.
It's not that appetizing.
All across the internet, we hear about the new diet and exercise plan that someone like Hugh Jackman used to get into his physique for the new Deadpool film, with exercises such as dumbbell curls, deadlifts, and CGI on his muscles.
Actually, they do look like CG arms though, don't they?
Ooh, what's happening here? Yep.
Are we sure?
Yep, absolutely, 100%.
We can clearly see the green screen outline on his body. You're not fooling anyone, mate. In the modern era of blockbuster movies, superheroes with ripping physiques are normal. Like even in the Eternals, that one skinny guy who wears a suit for the whole movie is now the next Hulk. Look at his veins. And it's not just the films, but even on social media we see people like Sam Sulek, who wears a cap at the age of 22 to hide the fact that he's already balding. The Trend Twins, who can make their new cast for the upcoming film Dumb and Dumber 3. And finally, Alex Eubank, who was recently on a Noel Denzel video talking about his physique and that only now he's started to use testosterone injections.
So Alex, lifetime natty, there's been a lot of speculations.
Yeah.
Now you've finally hopped on.
Yeah.
Which we all know is absolute rubbish, because who's a chest shaped like that? I mean, who's a chest naturally shaped like a semicircle? Average person has a chest shaped like a steep triangle. So, did he do juice before admitting it?
I guess we'll never know.
I would also like to say that I am not an expert in this field, so take my advice with a pinch of salt. But the real reason I'm making this is because of the butterfly effect it has on the mental health of younger people by developing insecurities and changing their bodies using dangerous methods to look like the superhero on the big screen. If we take a look at the examples where these celebrities are claiming that all they eat for their diet is chicken, broccoli and rice, there are some factual flaws within this advice that they are giving people that I've picked up on. The diet someone should take if they want to build muscle is to have a balanced diet, which is defined by the Oxford Languages Dictionary as a diet consisting of a variety of different types of food and providing adequate amounts of the nutrients necessary for good health. And if you want to get bigger in terms of muscle mass, you have to be eating in excess in order to gain the mass to be converted into muscle mass through protein synthesis. Foods that help protein synthesis are foods rich in protein, such as chicken breast, lean beef, and eggs, as these foods give your body enough protein for your body to convert it into muscle. The reason lots of celebrities say they only have chicken, broccoli, and rice is because 1, they've been told by their PR team that that's what they have instead of a plate of steroids. And 2, because it fits into the balanced diet criteria, as there is a source of protein, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals within it. By only eating this for 6 to 8 months, it is to anyone's knowledge quite literally impossible, because the most amount of muscle you will put on is the same amount of muscle on 10 chicken legs. Because you need other nutrients to support your muscle growth, such as protein supplements, to build more muscle. And also, not to mention, a lack of or no cheat days if you want a low enough body fat percentage for the big screen. To avoid making the mistake of taking incorrect portions of food when you want to build muscle, you should be learning about nutrition yourself to understand why you take that food and to balance your diet for your needs, such as having more lean beef for a bulk and increasing your calorie intake to be in a caloric surplus to put on lean muscle, or to have less lean beef and more salad, decreasing your caloric intake to be in a caloric deficit to lose fat and retain lean muscle. You should only really try these diets if you're over the age of 18, as your body is still growing, so putting it under extreme conditions such as a caloric deficit is harmful to your body, which is why exposing younger children to these diets can harm their body and development stage of growing, with outlets such as Men's Health and Centre Fitness missing the E in centre, promoting these diets online, which are then fed to these smaller children due to the algorithm finding similar patterns of Chris Hemsworth being looked up on their iPad or other devices these children have. Now, onto the more scientific part of the video. If we look at Chris Hemsworth, we can see that he went from this to this in 6 to 8 months? Well, if we actually take a closer look into why this is so shocking, we can look into the actual workouts these celebrities are doing to get into their amazing physiques. The workouts that are relayed by the news outlets, which in this case is from the Man of Many website, exaggerate what the celebrities are actually doing so much. Here's an example.
Check this out.
And it's not even that. Why is he walking Russian squats with a chain when he is in his personal gym with fortune's worth of actual equipment around him? Why? And some of these exercises aren't even that effective. Like, the amount of reps he does is somewhat acceptable, but there are no specifics on the weight he uses, so the reps of the weight aren't justified enough to be considered useful for growing muscle. Media outlets relay this with articles such as "See what happens when a lady lifts like the most muscular dude in Hollywood," who says she could barely lift the 2.5 millennial pink dumbbells I stole from the aerobics room, which is a problem within itself. To achieve muscle hypertrophy, there are usually two ways of doing it: building up the muscle resilience using relatively light weights such as 12 kilograms and having 4 sets of 20 reps for biceps, or strength from lifting 20 kilograms to 3 sets of repetitions, as these will build up lactic acid within the muscle to be repaired. Yet, it is never specified what weight they use or what type of muscle hypertrophy they are trying to achieve, strength or resilience. So, trying to decipher how they get this fatigue is a job for Sherlock Holmes. An expert on this subject, Greg Doucette, who reviews Alan Richardson workouts for his exposure on this video.
If you've been training consistently your entire life, how is it that suddenly, out of nowhere, you magically find the formula? Well, you were overtraining, you were training an hour a day, and then now you cut it in half, you suddenly blew up? I don't think so. Now look at his physique. Does that look like the physique of somebody who's natural? Remember, he's not in his 20s, he's now in his mid-30s. Do you really think when you're approaching your genetic limit, after all, at 35, how much more muscle are you going to put on? That you're suddenly going to put on 30 pounds of muscle?
Now, another thing I want to point out is that some of these workouts are purely just for the sake of it. Oh, what's that? Bicep curls aren't effective enough? Oh, don't worry. Here are some other curls you can use, which are less effective and make you have huge arms for your rollers Thanos. So these workouts that they are doing are either extremely stupid or something beyond my comprehension of it. Muscle is built by having micro tears within the muscle fibers due to a heavy workout, and then the body repairs this damage with protein synthesis, the process that cells use to create proteins, long strands of amino acids, making the muscle bigger and stronger, as these overlap the tears in the muscle, making it more resistant to the same workout or to have a higher tolerance to lactic acid, which breaks down muscle fibers, and in a similar way to how these muscle fibers are broken down, then rebuilt. If you want to build more muscle, you need to increase the amount of reps you do and have an increased weight, which is known as progressive overload, as this will develop your muscle more. But as we've established before, they don't specify the weight, so we have no way of knowing how they continue to build this muscle, and on top of this, they're doing the same amount of reps and sets every day, so it's quite unlikely that they are looking like this and putting on various kilograms of muscle from these same workouts. And another factor that these celebrities think we wouldn't know about this is the fact that muscle is built on rest days with the correct diet accompanying it, not on the day you've worked out on. So when you hear someone like Captain America say,
This is what happens.
Okay.
You get yourself as big as you can, and then as you're shooting, you slowly get smaller. It's just what happens. Throughout the movie, you just slowly lose your mass.
it's just wrong, because within 14 hours of time, you won't lose that muscle you've built unless the muscle you've built is just not muscle. On a final note for this section, if you want a physique like that, you would have needed to be lifting for at least 7 to 8 years. So these transformations within a lack of a year is somewhat strange. The issue here is that because of the incorrect workout routine that is presented to younger people is damaging their mental health, because they try these workouts, eat the right things, and are getting enough sleep for their muscle fibers to grow. However, they don't look anything like their idol. So, they become discouraged and try to look like their idol by taking recreational drugs such as PEDs and other drugs that mimic the effect of testosterone, which can lead to infertility and other long-term issues. And finally, the point we've all been waiting for, The signs. Steroids and other examples of cosmetic surgery, such as injecting synthol into yourself, which is used in the bodybuilding industry commonly to boost muscle size, as said in the Healthline website, have lasting and damaging side effects that harm your body. Synthol is basically oil that is injected into a part of your body to make it bigger. Synthol's side effects include heart attack and muscle fibrosis, which is an irreversible condition that causes muscle tissue to become so scarred that it may die and have to be removed surgically. We've all seen those people on the internet that do this and look absolutely ridiculous because of it. Take this guy, for example, who was on a TLC documentary where he suffers from the long-term damaging side effects of synthol. But we can also see it in not just the men, but the women too, altering their bodies with cosmetic surgery, such as plastic surgery and liposuction. We can't forget people like Erin Moriarty, Sharon Osbourne, and Jocelyn Wildenstein. We see these kinds of people everywhere with, to put it lightly, heavily altered bodies. Other people like Erin Moriarty, who plays Starlight in The Boys, has changed her look throughout the series run from season 1 to season 4, and Kim K. When we look at her before and after her very famous video, we can see the transformation in certain areas of her body, such as her face, breasts, and buttocks. With her buttocks looking like someone just added a fisheye effect to it in Photoshop and it translated over to her in real life. We can see a hint of synthol in Kim K's buttocks, as it looks like a good majority of her gluteus maximus muscle has died and now only the oil remains sagging along behind her. These side effects are extremely dangerous, as they can damage the muscle so much they are basically useless to have. Steroid side effects range from all the way to gynecomastia and pallamboyism. Gyno, the short term for growing a pair of breasts for boys in simple terms, is one of the more effective and easy ways to tell that someone is using steroids. One of the best examples of this is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who has had multiple surgeries to hide the fact that he has it. But if we look at earlier pictures of him, we have a clear indication that it is present. Boobies! But other celebrities that have indications for steroid use are people like Zac Efron and Joe Rogan, whose pallamboyism is very visible. Pallamboyism is a term used for when muscles on the sides of the abdomen, also known as your oblique muscles, thicken and make it difficult for a bodybuilder to hold in their stomach. It is a direct side effect of the use of the steroid HGH, human growth hormone. It is not as dangerous as steroid use, but it is still a drug that has a noticeable side effect to it that can affect your body. Not all celebrities have these side effects visible, mainly due to the fact that a doctor monitors them whilst they are on a steroid cycle, making sure that none of the negative side effects appear. But it is rather obvious as they are overdeveloped for someone who would claim to be a natural. Like, look at a natural bodybuilder's physique and an enhanced one. There is a noticeable difference. The body fat percentage, the muscle development in certain areas, and the veins, obviously. These are signs to be wary of when watching the next superhero film, or not, because it's going to be replaced with CGI anyway. By showing this on massive media outlets, it's being exposed to smaller children who believe that this kind of look is desirable, and by thinking that, these kids develop issues such as low self-esteem and body dysmorphia. Body dysmorphia is a mental health condition where you spend a lot of time worrying about your appearance, and this can affect anyone, boys or girls. And the best summary of this disorder is an image such as this. But before we move on to this final part of the video, I would like to say that it is not every fitness celebrity that fits into this category, with some celebrities like Joe Wick being one of the more wholesome and influential people to come out of the fitness industry with the lockdown workout that really solidified his impact on the people to stay fit and healthy naturally. Due to the exposure of such physiques on the big screens, we see an increase in negative mental health conditions in younger people and an increase in steroid use. This is best notable on YouTube, because if you look up 13-year-old on steroid, the further down you go on the YouTube feed, the more patterns you see of younger people using steroids, with some of the youngest being 13 to 14 years old. Similarly in women, the gender difference in cosmetic surgery as of 2022, according to Precedent Research, was by a 4:21 ratio between men and women. And the most wanted cosmetic surgeries done for women in 2024 is liposuction, breast augmentation, and a Brazilian butt lift, also known as a BBL. We cannot be certain that the causation of seeing people like this on the big screen with their overly large lips has a direct correlation to the increase in cosmetic surgery for women, And the same goes for men with the rise of steroids. However, this is most likely the case because, as PewDiePie said in his video on exposing influencers for lying about their PED use,
like, can you really blame him? Actors and entertainers put their health aside for the sake of entertainment. We want it, they provide it. You know, can you really be mad about it?
which then pushes people to look like them by any means possible. Or, when the newest Love Island series comes out, people want to see the women as beautiful as possible, which then has a knock-on effect to look like them by any means necessary. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope I have raised awareness to this situation. Please, please, do not believe anything you see on social media unless someone is completely transparent about themselves. Thank you.